Hello there and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm excited to finally be bringing you my review of the Decay Beauty brushes. About 2 months ago or so, I finally broke down and purchased the Essential Brush Collection, which are all of these here. And then I also added on the 206 brush, which was kind of new. Then a couple weeks after that, they so graciously sent me the rest of the brushes that they make plus their beauty sponge. So I have been giving these a really good test run. I have washed them numerous times and I now feel ready to give you my full review. I'm going to go through very briefly each brush. I'm going to show you a couple of demos of how I have personally been using them, and then I'm going to finish out the video by comparing them to two of my other top favorite brush brands, which are Morphe and Sigma. Because I think with anything, whether it be makeup or beauty tools, sometimes you are left wondering, well, okay, you like them, but how do they compare to these other brands? So I'm going to wrap up this video with those final thoughts. So if you are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button below. And now let's get started because we've got a lot to talk about. Now, Decay Beauty, if you are not familiar with that brand, it was started by Lisa J. She has a YouTube channel, and if you are not subscribed to her, I will link her channel down below. She is a sweetheart, and she knows makeup and application. She worked for years as a trainer for MAC Cosmetics, so she knows her stuff and she knows what quality brushes are about. Now on their website it says, driven by a passion for beauty and mission of kindness, Decay Beauty creates makeup products and tools that offer a luxurious feel with flawless performance. We help make application effortless and inspire creativity while celebrating beauty inside and out. With every purchase, a donation is made to inspire kindness. So the K in BK stands for kindness. And I just thought that is such a wonderful thing that I think we all need a little more of in this world, right? Kindness. So as it stated, a portion of every sale goes to help somebody. So I know during the kind of initial time of quarantine, they were donating meals to people in need. So I personally love that she has added a charitable aspect onto her company. Okay, so let's talk about the brushes themselves. The color scheme she chose is this kind of pale gold. So it almost looks silver in some lights, but it does just have a little hint of gold. So this metal part right here, and then the handle is kind of, it's a very unique color. It's a burgundy, kind of a deep burgundy red. And then she has her logo and the brush number, and that is in gold. The brush handles are slightly lighter in weight than the Sigma brushes, but part of that is because they're a little bit shorter. And you can see the Decay brushes are tapered down versus the Sigma ones are just straight. So there is a little more heft and weight to Sigma brushes than the Decay Beauty brushes. But again, I've traveled with these. I have washed them numerous times and they have all hung together very well. Nothing has loosened here in the handle. And most importantly, I have had zero, and I mean zero, shedding of these brushes, and that says a lot. Beautifully. Now I used many of these brushes to put my makeup on today, so some of them are going to look dirty, but that's because they've been used. But they all have this really nice soft hair, and the hair on these brushes you can use with powder or cream products, but I have really enjoyed them. They wash up cleanly, and I do like that she has this darker tip on here rather than taking white all the way to the tips, because then it won't show if they get a smidge stained. But so far I have not had any problems with them remaining stained after I've washed them. So the first brush I'm going to show you and talk about is the 101. This is a foundation brush, and this I did not order initially. I chose in my Essential Brush collection to get the round foundation brush, but this one they sent to me later, and I have to say I'm so glad because this has actually become my favorite of the two. I love applying this for foundation. you will see it's kind of a mix between a paddle brush, so you can kind of brush the foundation on, and then it also, because it's a little bit fluffy, you can kind of press and also buff a little bit as you're applying the foundation. But you can see it applies the foundation really quickly and it blends it in very well. So I really have enjoyed this, and I feel like this is a very unique shaped brush. After foundation, I used the 107 brush to apply cream bronzer. I have been getting back into cream bronzers. I've purchased a few new ones, and I used this today and really loved how it applied my cream bronzer today. It gives you a slight bit of some precision, so I was able to place the product, but then because it is kind of dense and soft, I was able to then kind of buff that bronzer out, but I still didn't feel like it moved the foundation underneath. So that's kind of a tricky balance, and I felt like this brush worked really well. So again, I have also used this for cream blush and applying it here, but I do find because it is dense, I have to be careful if I use it with a really bright blush, because it will pack on quite a bit of product very quickly. Now, I have used this a few times with powder blush or powder bronzer, but that's not my favorite way to use it. I do love it though with the cream products. Okay, now we're gonna go into some eye brushes, because this was just the order that I did my makeup this morning. So starting off with, first of all, the angled 205 brush. So this brush I have not used a ton, but this one for me has been good right under the brow to apply my brow bone highlight shade. So it is, again, same softness, and it's angled, slightly fluffy. You can also use this to kind of buff out up above the crease, but it is a little bit more dense, so you're not going to have quite as much movement as you would with a fluffier brush. Next up, I have the 201 brush, and this is actually kind of a fluffy crease brush. Now, this one has a flat top, so I'm going to show you that. This is one that I like to use above the crease, so between the brow bone highlight shade and the crease color, this is where I will use this brush the most, and you'll see it applies the product beautifully. The bristles, however, they are pretty flimsy, so you're not going to get a ton of product all at once, but that's okay, because for me, in this area of my eye, I really like to have a more diffused application of shadow. Next, we go in with one of my all-time favorite brushes. This is the 206, and I'm so glad she added this to her collection. So this is slightly pinched. The bristles are quite long, but they are not quite as long as the crease brush. But what I love about this is you can really just get the brush right in the crease, and then you can turn it on its side. You can blend above the crease with this. You can also blend color in the outer corner. So this has become an essential in my makeup application. I love this brush. All right, the next brush is the 202, and this came in the Essential Collection. And this is a crease brush. I think it's the pointed crease brush. And you'll see it does have a point on it, and then it's tapered on either side. Now, this has not been one that I have used a ton, but today I did find a really good use for it, and you'll see as I am blending with the brush kind of turned almost vertically. And so what that's doing is it allowed me to keep the color in the crease, but diffuse it right above the crease. So this is a good brush. It's just not one that I am reaching for real often. Now, to apply the sparkle on my lid today, I used the 203 brush. And this is just almost basically a shorter version of the 206 brush. And so you can see it's still fluffy, but it's dense and it doesn't have quite as much flexibility as the previous one. So this one I feel is good for packing on shadow. And today was the first time that I used it in this way. I spritzed the brush after applying the eyeshadow to it, and you'll see it really packed on the color nicely on my lid, and it's a perfect size, so you're not feeling like you're getting shadow all over the lid. You can really easily control the application with this brush. Next up is the tiniest, thinnest angle brush I think I own. The Sigma, there is one by Sigma that is very similar, but this is the 208, and it is, I mean, talk about pinpointed angled brush. This is going to give you a super thin defined line. So I used this today after applying my eyeliner to the outer half of my upper lid. You'll see I just used this to kind of pull up just a faint little line of that liner because I really didn't want a dramatic wing. And so I used this for this. Now, if you like a thick line of shadow or something, this brush would take you quite a while to get there. However, if you like to have a super thin line of shadow or liner right into your lashes, this would be a great one. You could also use this to create kind of hair-like strokes through your brows with a brow powder. Now the 204 brush, which is another one that I just can't stop using. This is a smudger brush, and it really truly is unique because the bristles are slightly shorter and slightly puffier than any of the other smudge brushes that I own. And I think this does amazing things either on your lower lash line or as I'm doing here. Just, I love to use this to smudge out my eyeliner or to then go over and pack in some extra shadow in the outer corner to darken it up. I absolutely love this brush. Now it's time for some powder, and this has become another essential in my daily routine, and this is the 105 brush. This is the biggest, most dense powder brush I own or have ever owned, and I love it. Now, in my previous Get Ready With Me, I mentioned that this is perfect if you have more combination or oily skin and you're really trying to pack on powder. It's also great if you like to use a powder foundation, because the denser the brush with a powder foundation, the quicker it will apply, and this also just buffs on beautifully. If, however, you don't like to have that much powder on your face, then you're going to want the 102 brush. This is the most lightweight, I would say it gives you the most lightweight application of powder of any brush that I own. So it's not a duo fiber brush, but it's almost like that. I mean, it really just gives you the lightest dusting of powder. Now for me personally, this does not apply enough setting powder for me because of my oily skin. However, I have found this useful when using a dark kind of super pigmented bronzer, because this will really give me a nice diffused layer of that, and I don't feel like I have to blend and blend and blend. I don't feel like I have to be super careful with that pigmented bronzer. So again, that is the 102 brush. Next, we have the 103 brush, and I have really enjoyed this. This is probably the closest in shape to one of my previous favorites that was made by Denona Lace, and I love to use this for applying bronzer. So bronzer is more higher up on the cheeks, here on the forehead. It's not so much giving me the contour, although as you're seeing here in the demo, I only used this for my contour slash bronzer, and I feel like this does give you a nice diffused contour look, but it also blends really well up on the cheek and does so nicely with bronzer. I've used this many times also with the Too Faced Sweetie Pie bronzer, which you know is one of my favorites. So again, that is the 103 brush, and I've really enjoyed the shape of this, and it has a little more density than this brush does. You can see this one is quite floppy. This one has a little more denseness, and because the bristles are a little bit shorter, you get a good application, but not too much powder. For blush, I have really enjoyed this. This is the 104, and you'll see it is tapered to kind of a rounded point, and the bristles, they are flexible, but they're not too flexible. So it allows you to pick up a decent amount of product, but then because of the shape, personally, because I have rounder cheeks, I don't like to go crazy with a round thing of blush right here. I don't need that help. So I love that I can just whisk that blush on the tops of my cheeks and use that point as kind of the taper for the blush and then go up. You can also use it to go back this way. So I've really enjoyed this. It reminds me of almost like if these two had a baby. This is the Real Techniques blush brush. You can see how round that top is. This one has just a little bit more of a taper, and then this brush, which is the Sigma F37. This one has been one of my favorites for glowy blushes. This, however, with the combination of those two brushes, I feel like works well with matte blushes or with strobing or shimmery blushes as well. For highlighter today, I used the 108 brush. This is a smaller, slightly round top brush. Now this one I have not used a ton. I do feel like this is best for highlighter. This one though is a little bit more dense than your typical highlighter brush, so I have to be careful. If I have a highlighter that's super metallic and pigmented, this is going to apply too heavy of an application. However, if I have a lighter weight highlighter, this works perfectly. You could also use this to set your under eye. Again, I have to be careful with that because it is a little more dense, so I don't like to apply too much powder. So that can be the tendency with a brush like this, but it's super, super soft. If you want to just apply setting powder to the center of your face, this is perfect also for that. To finish up my eye look today, I went in with the 207 brush. This is a rounded pencil brush. Now, honestly, most of the time I have used this in the outer corner, but I wanted to give it a try for the inner corner, and you'll see it worked great. I did wet the brush after applying the shadow to it so that I could get a more intense application of that inner corner highlight, but this is super soft. It does pick up a good amount of shadow and applies it very well. Now the final tool that I have to review for you is their sponge, and this is currently dry, so when you wet it, it does pretty much double in size. It's super soft, really high quality material that they've used. Again, I have washed this several times. It cleans up beautifully, and I do love using a sponge with some of my fuller coverage foundations when I want just a little more diffused look, and this has worked very well for that. So as I went through each brush and you saw each one in action, you can tell these are really good, high quality brushes, and they do perform very well. Now, as far as how they compare to other brushes, what my preferences are, I kind of alluded to some of those as I was going along, but let me just get into that briefly here. Now keep in mind, this does not take away from the quality of these brushes. Just for me personally and the way that I like to apply my makeup, there are a couple of brushes that I still prefer over these, and I'll show you which ones. So for these two, the crease brush, the pointed crease one and the 201, for me, I like a combination of these two, and I feel like I still prefer the Morphe M504 because this is like if these two had a baby. So, however, I will say these bristles are still much softer than these Morphe brushes are, but the shape and the slightly more dense bristles here, they're not quite as flimsy. I actually still prefer this over these two. Now, going into the crease, some of my favorite brushes from Sigma and Morphe have been this shape, and this is the E25 from Sigma or the M433 from Morphe. And this, before trying this, was my favorite for the crease. However, this has taken over. So one of the reasons is these bristles are still softer even than the Sigma ones. And you can see this is a Sigma one, and over time as you wash it, even though I reshape it and it dries, it does start to spread out a little bit more. And these BK brushes have really kept their shape very well. Now, I mentioned the powder brush has become my favorite, and it has. It's actually taken over the top spot for my Sigma. I still love this brush. This is the F30, but this one, you can just see in comparison, it's bigger, it's more dense, and it just really packs on the powder quickly and does a great job of setting my makeup. Now, the smudge brush is another top favorite. And I mean, the closest thing I have to that is this brush here. I think Bare Minerals also made one of these, but you can just see there is a difference. There's a difference in the size, there's a difference in the density, and this one just does amazing work on smudging out that eyeshadow. All right, so to wrap up this video, I have two kind of final categories of people that I'm going to address with my recommendations. So first category is the person who says, you know, Shirley, I've already got a bunch of really high quality brushes. Are there really any that I need to add to my collection? So for you, I'm going to recommend for the eyes, I would say the 204 brush and the 206 brush. These two are unique on their own, and I really feel like you would love having these as an addition to your collection. For face brushes, if you're like me and you like to really pack on some powder, or you like to use a powder foundation, the 105 brush is the way to go. Also, I feel like the 101 foundation brush, if you want a unique, wonderful brush to apply your foundation, this would be it. Now, the other brushes, they are really good quality, but I do feel like you can get similar brushes in different brands, and you may already own something similar. Now, for the person who says, Shirley, I need to start all over. I need a whole new brush set. What should I get? Well, I would recommend going to their website. As I was trying to figure out what to purchase myself, I was kind of pricing out individual brushes and totaling them up and then seeing what was the better deal. And for me, I felt like ordering the Essential Brush collection, even though I didn't think I needed everyone in that collection, it was still a better deal for me. So based on what I show you here, you can kind of decide which collection, which set might work better for you. But I would definitely recommend the 206, the 207, which is that pencil brush, and the 204 brush. I think those three are definitely wonderful if you're just starting out or you want to replace all of your brushes. The 201 brush, it can be a really good one. Like I said, it just depends on what your preferences are for blending out the crease, but you definitely do need a fluffy kind of crease blending brush in your collection, so this would definitely be a must in my book. As far as face brushes go, again, highly recommend the 105 if you want that dense powder application. If you don't want quite that much application of powder and you want a brush that can be versatile and used for other things, I would recommend the 103. I do love this. I think this is great also for bronzing applications. So this would be another one that I would add to my essential group. And then of course, the foundation brush. I personally do prefer this one, but the rounded foundation brush, this has been one, the shape of the brush has been one that I have used in the past, and I do also love this. So one of these two foundation brushes, you don't need both, but I would recommend one of those. And then I would say as one final face brush would be the 104, unless you only use cream products. If you only use cream products, then I'd go with the 107. But if you like to do powder blushes, maybe even powder bronzers or highlighters, I would go with the 104. I think this is really a great essential staple brush to have in your collection. So that would be my recommendation if you're just starting out or you're starting over with your brush collection and you're just wanting to kind of dip your toes into this brand. Those would be the ones that I would say to go for first, and then of course you can add on any of the others that you think fit kind of the task that you need them to do. So if you're somebody who really likes that thin eyeliner brush, then go for this super thin angled brush, etc. So overall, I do love these brushes. I think they are high quality. I will leave a link down below. It is an affiliate link. If you don't want to use it, that's okay. Just go straight to bkbeauty.com. But I do also have a discount code for you down below, which will give you, I believe, an extra 10% off. But I hope that you will check out these brushes. I hope this video was helpful for you. Thank you as always so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.